Welcome. I'm Deborah Dirksen, and this is A Bridge to Spirit. This is to remind you that no matter what the setback, when you return to your feet, you will be stronger, wiser, and more connected to yourself than ever before. Just like a muscle goes through tear and repair to become stronger, your tear is temporary. While it might hurt, it's important to just keep going. Gently, consciously, kindly get up, get going, and do that thing you do. Oh my God. So I just recorded a 22-minute podcast that I really liked. Podcast number 2, all about perfection, the topic of perfection, and more. It was really good, you guys. You really, really would have liked it. And I even have my voice sounding better because of this wonderful microphone. So I was thrilled to go in and do the editing and just kind of put it up. And there was no sound. And I thought, what the heck? Why is there no sound? So I did 2 more recordings and still there was no sound. And I thought, well, I tried to hook up 2 of these last week so that somebody else could be on a mic and I could do, like a podcast with somebody else. So maybe I messed that up. So I went in and I changed all of that. Yeah, my mic is still working. There's this little button on the Samsung. You probably can't see it. Maybe you can if I turn it enough that way. It's a little button. And now you can hear me talking. And now you can hear me talking. It's called a mute button. Oh, you really would have liked the other podcast. And you know that you just can't repeat something that you just did. Oh, so this podcast, this now technical number 2 podcast, is not only about perfection, but it's also about letting go. Because I have to let go of the fact that I had the microphone on mute. I'm very sad. Okay, so and to somewhat address what I just did in the other 22 minutes, which I was really happy about, is that I wanted to talk about, yes, it came down to perfection. And it's freaking hysterical that the last 5 minutes or so I was talking all about perfection. Turns out the whole damn thing wasn't recorded. Oh my Lord. Anyway, I did a social media post today. This is what I'm gonna read it to you. I have a strong pull this morning to remind you that no matter what the setback, when you return to your feet, you will be stronger, wiser, and more connected to yourself than ever before. Just like a muscle goes through tear and repair to become stronger, your tear is temporary. While it might hurt, it's important to just keep going. Gently, consciously, kindly, get up, get going, and do that thing you do. Lots of love, Deborah. Of course, lots of love. So now I know this one is recording. And so what was that about, Spirit? What was that about? I was saying in my first recording that this aspect of perfection is so crippling for so many of us. And it really comes down to, bottom line, what we feel like our projection is towards others and how others are receiving us. And at the very bottom base of that is really our sense of belonging, our sense of acceptance in the world, our sense of connection to each other. it really comes down to survival. Without each other, we're not surviving, right? So I think that all of this is very instinctual, and this aspect of perfection is just a neuroses that comes from the very real feelings that we have from early on about, do we belong or do we not belong? Are we accepted or acceptable, or are we not? And the aspect of bullying that we can go through as children, but that carries right on up and through into adulthood, where we face, even in the workplace, or even in our families, some people, very real bullies. And of course, we know that that bullying that occurs is coming from places of deep fear and insecurity in those people themselves. But it's this drive for perfection, um, can be very troublesome for so many of us. And really, the truth of the matter is that our fall is our greatest gain. The place where we come up against ourselves, the challenges in our personality, the challenges in our limitations, where we come up against those frustrations and we keep moving and we find solutions and we surmount those challenges, is where wisdom comes from, is where strength comes from. But if we don't share where we're vulnerable, and we're not sharing um, the fact that even when, I have a lot of people in my life that are enormously successful, and on the outside look like they have all their poop together. And I'm telling you, nobody has all their poop together. Like, that's just point blank, matter of fact. Nobody has all their poop together. Some people obviously are doing better than others. And I don't mean that in a monetary kind of sense. I mean that in a self-preserving, self what would you say, secure kind of way. I think ultimately it comes down to that money does not offer you self-security. A good job does not offer you self-security. You being who you are in the world, fully and wholly, will give you a sense of self-security. Arriving in your day, each day, in your relationships, not only to people, but to organizations and states of the world, how you are in relationship to your entire life. That sense of security in you comes from your behavior and the position that you take and the way that you interact with the world. So this idea of perfection can be incredibly crippling if we let it. So I probably recorded, before I did the really great podcast that none of you will hear, that was a beautiful 22 minutes long, I had done 3 or 4 very short takes where I was really frustrated. And I thought, why am I even doing this? And the whole negative self-talk that I hear often, believe me, I hear it pretty much every day of my life. But the golden nugget is that I hear it now. When I didn't hear it before, it used to drive my life. It used to cripple me. But now that I can hear the voice, I can hear the chatter of negativity in my mind, self-defeating kinds of, you're no good at this. Why are you even talking? I hate the sound of your voice. People have heard this before. Nobody cares what you think or what you have to say. Does any of this sound familiar? So that barrage, now that I can hear it, I have a response to it. I have this other part of me that goes, yeah, I hear that. That's really unfair. And no matter what you think, I'm going ahead and doing this anyway. Do you know what I mean? There's a wonderful resilience that can come from the awareness of what your challenges are, what your defects are, what your struggle is. So don't ever be afraid, if I can say this, to become really, really aware of the things that are challenging in you, maybe even personality defects like selfishness or self-centeredness, or always being negative. Don't be afraid to get close to those things and look at those things, because it's actually very empowering when you know that voice and you know that narrative in yourself, then you have the opportunity to respond with another part of your being, another stronger, more expansive part of your being. Your very spirit, your very essence can be a wonderful response to that character defect or that negativity in you. So don't ever be afraid to look at what's wrong with you, because sometimes looking at what's wrong with you can highlight what's incredibly right with you. So where was I going with that? Oh yeah, perfection. So I did the first 3 or 4 takes and I thought, oh, I hate this. Number one, to be honest, I do not like doing a podcast on my own. Next week, I'm going to have a friend, Dawn, with me, and I hope that you're really going to enjoy that conversation. I like having people to share with. I like hearing other people's thoughts and ideas. So I really don't like the on my own kind of narrative. It's why I like doing lives. So I'm probably going to turn some lives to podcasts as well. But anyway, in doing that 3 or 4 kind of takes, I thought, oh, Deborah, why are you so frustrated? And then I just took a breath and I went, because like you're trying to be something for these people that you're just not. So just be yourself, arrive as yourself, calm down, settle down, and just talk about what you want to talk about. So what I wanted to talk about was the post that I made that a lot of people that were responding to. Do you know what I mean? Like literally within the first hour, there were a lot of people liking it, but a lot of people making comments like this. This is exactly what I've been, Genevieve says, this is exactly what I've been telling my friend. And your post popped up and I had to show it to her. This was so meant for her to see. Somebody else said, great timing. Thanks, Deborah. Linda said, I needed this too. Thank you, Deborah. I'm also a Leo. And several people were saying they're a Leo. I actually posted this picture with it. Isn't he gorgeous? And I actually intentionally, my hair is never this tousled, but I left my hair this tousled because it reminded me of his beautiful mane. Anyway, that post, struck a chord, with a lot of people. And so I wanted to, yeah, Teresa says, so needed to read this today. Thank you. So I'm going to say it to you again, so maybe you can soak it in a little bit. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, so the way that this post came, as do most of my posts, I'm usually like doing the laundry or doing the dishes or something, and I hear a line come through my head. I used to refer to this as the EOS. Sometimes I still do, EOS. And I never knew what that used to mean. Just one day I asked where this voice was coming from, and I heard EOS. And then later on, I came to understand that it was a representation of the eternal oversoul. So that expansive collective soul that I think we have. And so sometimes I'll hear a line come through my mind, and that's what happened with this post today. I was pulling some laundry out and I heard, no matter what the setback. And when that voice starts going, my ears perk up and I pay attention. So no matter what the setback, when you return to your feet, which you will be stronger, wiser, and more connected to yourself than ever before. So I think that this aspect of, maybe not even necessarily failing, but maybe you were having 3 really great weeks or 3 really great months, and all of a sudden you're down in a pit again, or all of a sudden you feel like your energy has shifted and you're not as great as you were for the last 3 months, or all of a sudden you feel out of sorts and discombobulated. Or maybe you're in a period of 6 months where things just feel hard and you're struggling. Just know that things always change. Like nothing stays the same. And even, when people are struggling with anxiety or depression, it can be exhausting, incredibly exhausting. But keep going. Day by day, moment by moment. I know how exhausting it can get. I was in a 25-year loop of the kind of crippling anxiety that would have me pass out and take an ambulance ride. So I know what it is to feel like you're in that tired cycle of, an up and down, maybe we should say, of mental health, or emotional health. But nothing stays the same. So keep going. Take a breath and keep going. You are a radiant being upon this planet. I promise you, every single soul. It doesn't matter if you're out there in the public doing very open, amazing things, or you're somebody who is a hermit at home, or you lead a more closed kind of life. That the essence of you, the value of you is in the very fact that you exist. And so, what is your service in that? What is it that you are bringing to this earth to share and to be? This drive of perfection can cripple us and stop us from fully living that out, right? Behind that narrative of perfection, which behind that is the fear of not belonging, or the fear of being ridiculed, or the fear of standing out. Forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Beyond perfection is that narrative of not belonging. At least it is for me. At least it is for the great majority of people that, I talk to as well. But bottom line, the essence of who you are is a value to this world. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to shout it from the rooftops. Maybe it literally is that you are one of those people that turns your attention and your energy to crocheting or making those beautiful, fantastic little cloths that help us wipe up our kitchens so much. Or maybe it is that you're just a really great baker and people love your food, and that kind of nourishment is what you offer this world. Maybe you're a really great listener for people. Maybe you take really wonderful photographs. Like, whatever it is that drives your heart, whatever it is that lights you a fire, whatever it is that makes you feel like you're expressing the authenticity of you, just be that and do that, and try as best you can to let go of this idea of perfection, because it is crippling. And you can tell from the lives that I do, they are anything but perfect. So I guess I just really wanted to arrive here today after writing that little post and having so many people respond, that I thought this would be the great next podcast to say, look, let's drop the idea of perfection. Let's just start arriving for each other in our authentic being. Whatever the negative narratives that are in your mind that are stopping you from doing, get to know them. Get to know the voice inside your head that is crippling you, because in getting to know it, you can allow room for the beautiful voice that's also there to start talking to it, right? So even when I'm driving down the road, sometimes now I will hear a negative thought stream that's that old thing in me, that old modality in me that wants to stop me, that wants to hold me back. And I will laugh and go, oh my God, there you are again. So I have this voice that's going, I recognize you. And I understand that you're going to bring this negative barrage, but it's okay. We're doing it anyway. We're going to breathe and we're going to show up and we're going to arrive anyway. And always after I feel better. Just like continuing on with this podcast that did not want to happen today. So just keep going. Be gentle, be kind with yourself, but keep going. It's okay to give yourself a push too. Again, things like anxiety and depression can cripple us, but please do not give up too soon. Around every single corner, there's a new opportunity for change, for shift, for growth. And if all you can do is walk outside the door today and find a flower to stare into, a person to smile at, fresh air to breathe, just go do that. Just take one more moment and then one more moment again. And I promise you, in time, it will all change. So I love you all. I look forward to my chat with Dawn, and I look forward to introducing you all to her, just because I love her energy and her spirit. And I hope that conversation with her next week will be very valuable to you all as well. Thank you for encouraging me. I'm going to go back to editing the book, and lots of love to you all. Okay, bye.